Here's a market recap for Monday, June 23rd. Looking at some of the sales across the state for Monday, Joplin Regional Stockyards expecting about 8,000 head for Monday. Some stick-out sales there. 601 head of 862-pound steers at $318. 281 head of 733-pound heifers at $301. 279 head of 786-pound heifers, $302.50. 179 head of 808-pound steers at $315. 130 head of 830-pound steers, $305.50. 116 head of 903-pound steers, $305.50. 107 head of 650-pound heifers, $339. 102 head of 820-pound steers, $307. At the Cowway Livestock Center, expecting about 1,500 head for Monday. Some stickouts there. 68 head of 733 pounds at $331.25. 60 head of 808-pound steers, $316.25. 120 head of 878-pound steers, $300.25 per hundredweight. 167 head of 957-pound steers, $289. 55 head of 972-pound steers, $284.85. Looking at the daily box beef cutout values, choice cuts valued at $390.22, down 28 cents this afternoon. Select cuts closed at $383.10. That's up $6.15. That's based off of 88 total loads, 54 loads of choice, 11 loads of select, 9 loads of trimmings, 15 loads of grinds. The choice select spread at $7.12. Looking at the afternoon National Slaughter Cattle Review, so far for Monday, negotiated cash trade has been inactive in all feeding regions. The last established market test in the Texas Panhandle was last week at 228. The last established market test in Kansas was last week at 228. The last established market test in Nebraska was last week, live from 235 to 237. The dressed at 376. The last market in the Western Corn Belt was last week, live purchases 235 to 238. The dressed at 376. Total receipts for negotiated cash trade confirmed for the week ending June 22nd was 59,291 head. Estimated daily livestock slaughter under federal inspection for Monday, estimate cattle receipts at 111,000. That's 8,000 more than last week and 2,000 less than a year ago. Estimated hog receipts for Monday, 465,000, 13,000 less than last week and 1,000 more than a year ago. The crop progress report was released Monday afternoon. Corn emergence for Missouri at 98%, steady with the 5-year average. Corn silking for Missouri is at 5%, just a percent more than the 5-year average. For the corn condition for Missouri, 1% very poor, 5% poor, 21% fair, 62% good, and 11% excellent. Soybeans planted for Missouri at 89%. That's 3% behind the 5-year average and 4% behind last year's pace. Soybean emergence is at 82%. That's 1 percentage point ahead of the 5-year pace and 2% behind last year's. Soybeans in the blooming stage for Missouri at 3%, 1 percentage ahead of the 5-year average. Soybean condition for Missouri, 1% very poor, 4% poor, 26% fair, 63% good, and 6% excellent. Wheat harvest pace has reached 29% for Missouri. That is 22% behind the 5-year average and 42% last year's pace. Winter wheat condition for Missouri at 5% poor, 29% fair, 54% good, and 12% excellent. Looking at pasture and range condition for Missouri, 1% rated poor, 12% fair, 76% rated good, and 11% rated excellent. Looking at the top soil moisture condition for Missouri, 2% very short, 14% short, 69% adequate, and 15% surplus. Looking at the subsoil moisture condition for Missouri, 2% very short, 15% short, 73% adequate, and 10% surplus. Looking at your closing futures on the Chicago Board of Trade. Corn contracts, July down 9.5 at $419.25, September down 8 at $417.5, December down 7.5 at $433.75. July soybeans down 9 1/4, $10.58 3/4. August down 9 1/2, $10.62. September down 13 3/4, $10.40 1/4. Wheat contracts, July down 15 cents, $5.52 3/4. September down 14 at $5.69 1/2. December down 13 1/4, $5.92 3/4. On the Mercantile Exchange, live cattle, June 222.30 down 72 cents, August 209.37 down 45 cents, October 207.10 down 25. Feeder cattle contracts, August 302.80 up 35, September 302.62 up 40, and October $300.85 up 50 cents. Lean hogs, July 113.45 up 67 cents, August 113.05 up 60, and October 96.87 up 85 cents. Looking at the Missouri cash grain bids paid to producers, the daily trends for Monday: soybeans 9 to 14 lower, wheat 10 to 22 lower, corn 8 to 10 lower. Corn bids in St. Louis 441, Kansas City 434, Milo in Kansas City at 329. Soybeans in St. Louis 1071, Kansas City 1037 to 1057, and wheat in St. Louis 549 to 553, Kansas City 558. That's your market recap for Monday, June 23rd with the Missouri Department of Agriculture. This is Caroline Carter. Have a great day.